links to join channel here over on Subscribestar. So quick little video on crowdfunding comics and Fund My Comics, which promises trust and crowdfunding freedom to indie creators, which if you've been following Comicsgate for the past few years, you know why this is necessary. Sort of the difference between the right and the left, I think, is that we want everyone to be able to sell their comics, their artwork, whatever the hell they want to sell, without censorship. We don't need like a third party standing between two people having a conversation to act as a political commissar. Why would anyone want that? What was it that the girl was working at Indiegogo, the blue-haired, fuchsia-haired girl? She got fired because she was like doing comic outreach to Pox Walks, BLT, Furry Otherkins or something. It's like, just have a marketplace. Just sell to everyone. If they want to sell on your site, all you have to do is get out of people's way. And I've heard these interviews with her, and then the interview with Jack Conti at Patreon or PayPal or something, and he's talking about facilitating all this stuff between the buyer and the seller, or the people they want to support. And it's, again, you look at him like, just get out of people's way. All you are is a payment processor for Patreon or PayPal, and you're just hosting information on servers. Just get out of people's way. For Indiegogo, you don't need to do outreach. You go, oh yeah, we sell for the comic side of Indiegogo or Kickstarter, we're selling comics on this side. So you upload your art on this template and you sell your comic. And we just have an open, honest algorithm. There's no manipulation. It's like, oh, well, that's not Indiegogo and Kickstarter. That's something else. They don't want any of this stuff. They don't want to just get out of the way. They want to be their fingers in the pie, manipulating everything. That's why they got involved with it. If they just got out of the effing way, they would be making money hand over fist. And it wouldn't matter what kind of comic you're selling, left or right, or where, if you're Irish or Russian or Nigerian, or gay or straight or whatever. Like, you're just uploading your comic to the site. You don't need are you gonna have an Russian outreach? No. We're just the Nigerian outreach. Why is that? No reason. Just that they're marginalized and oppressed. No, they're not. It's just an open platform. All you have to do is have a template for people to sell their stuff. It doesn't have to, all you have to do is accept payment, have a template, server space. It's not that complicated. But it is to them because they want to act as the political commissars. Anyway, so this new crowdfunding site is launching. Simply put, it will be a success if we use it. Indiegogo and Kickstarter censor. Fund My Comic is the alternative. If we use it, it will work. If we don't use it, it will fail, and our stuff will go back to being censored. It will be in the hands of these other gatekeepers, these other two big platforms that are, billion-dollar companies. And it's funny, like, people start these tiny little companies, and most tiny little companies are going to remain tiny, but there's always a possibility of you reach a spot of the market where something really, really needs to be, and it just blows up. So they're looking at a site like this, like, you never know. So getting the right, the liberal, libertarians, the free speech crowd to all get together and focus on something is like herding kittens. The vaguely, I don't know, right wing, the free speech crowd, whatever you want to call them, the people who don't need political commissars, who don't need a third party censoring their speech for them. We can hear words. Reasonable people can disagree without becoming disagreeable. We don't need a fuchsia-haired weirdo telling us. So they don't seem to understand the need to act in unison. You only have power as a group. Hang together or hang separately. People in Comicsgate have been outright banned and shadow banned because there are only these two big funding sites. There was no alternative. Even if you have big successful campaigns, like I think Cyberfrog is probably the biggest one out there, you got to look to the future and start planning ahead. This is that opportunity. Mike Barron, Mike Miller got banned and shadow banned. And how many others that we don't even know about? Maybe they're not in CG or whatever. This is the obvious next step in the evolution of something like Comicsgate. You make the product, you advertise it on YouTube, and now a little bit on Odyssey and some of these other sites. Odyssey is getting to be very interesting. Like, there's a lot of live streams that are only on Odyssey, and honestly, if you're big on YouTube, you might want to consider doing something exclusively on Odyssey, like a once a week stream with a bunch of other YouTubers. I mean, there's so much that could be done. anyway, so then you hit the gatekeepers of the marketplace of Indiegogo and Kickstarter. Well, obviously, it's time to get around that. It's like you're doing everything else, with no political commissars. You make it, you advertise it. It's like you're using YouTube as a platform, but YouTube isn't. It's not getting in your way, and it's not facilitating anything, or at least it didn't used to. It's just the platform to get around things. It's like, well, that's what Indiegogo and Kickstarter should have been. It's like everything they use is a tool for cultural Marxism, is to use to manipulate their environment. Where you go to Indiegogo and Kickstarter and you go to the comic section, there's a lot of stuff on there, but the stuff that they curate, the stuff that they kind of moderate, they control the algorithm. It's like, oh, so you got all this like BLT, POC, furry, otherkin comics. And I make fun of them because those are kind of low selling comics. It's not what people are really, really into. And they're on the front page. You're like, it's not an honest algorithm. But, here's the thing: is like I make fun of them. I'm not saying don't put them on there. I'm saying just have the algorithm honest. Like that would mean by keyword, a keyword search, groupings. Like if people who bought Jawbreakers also bought Iron Sights, and people who are in the comicsgate, like you should be able to have a comicsgate section of Indiegogo and Kickstarter without being censored and deplatformed or shadow banned. It's like, oh, you just can't have that. Where Mike Barron did a comic on, I don't know, something to do with a border patrol agent has to solve some kind of mystery. It's like, oh yeah, we're gonna shadow ban that. Or Mike Miller did Lone Star, one of the Lone Stars. I think he's selling NFTs or something now today, which is a shame because he's a beautiful, beautiful artist. Um, and that got outright banned on one of the platforms because it's apparently the gangs, according to Chairman whoever over at Indiegogo, those are marginalized and oppressed people, like the gang members, the actual criminal gangs who commit malum. Yes, that's right, because they're brown. They're marginalized and oppressed. Mike Miller is also brown. Isn't he more marginalized and oppressed than these fictional gang members? Apparently not. Anyway, so you don't need gatekeepers. Obviously, it's time to go around gatekeepers of Indiegogo and Kickstarter. So one of the positives of the site is any site is the organic discovery. But if you get put on the comics page, and if the algorithm was just honest, then you would get more organic discovery. But if you're shadow banned, obviously it's a moot point. And mostly with Comicsgate, you're bringing your customers with you. It's from the Comicsgate network on YouTube, which is what something like Fund My Comic is going to be perfect for. And, hey, it's open for everyone, right or left. If you don't want censorship and you just want an honest algorithm, then that's the place to go. Though, left wing is probably not going to need it because if you're on the left and you're doing some they use stuff on like Indiegogo and Kickstarter where it's a gay POC comic. It's like, okay, great. By all means, make all the comics you want. But they're on the crowdfunding platforms like, oh, okay, so $2,700. So there's, people hear the lightest little criticism and they lose their effing minds. I'm just saying, it seems like there's not a lot of interest for accrued. There's a lot of comics on the mainstream platforms that fit in these like special categories on the hierarchy, and they're not very polished comics. They're not quite ready to be crowdfunded yet. You look at them, it's like, so what do you have going for it? Oh, well, it's POC and it's BLT. But it's kind of crudely drawn and there's some grammatical errors. Okay, it's not ready to go for it. Oh, you just hate me because I'm BLT POC. No, I have not. I go for it, but you gotta like redo the art for a year. Just practice drawing your figures for a year. And formatting and there should be no grammatical errors. There should be everything. The writing should make sense. It should look like it's it doesn't have to be perfect by all means. Like there's a phrase never don't like do something, put it out there, check it over, do it as good as you can do it in the time allotted, but don't let like the fear of perfection stop you from putting it out there. Like if it's a question of putting it out there and it's not perfect, then as opposed to just being scared of imperfections, by all means put it out there and then let the market decide, and then the next time you'll improve it by all means. But some of the stuff is like, okay, you're looking at the stuff and look at what the general is doing. It's like you got to at least reach the minimally competent level. But I'm saying, like on the front page, Indiegogo and Kickstarter, these comics that are funded for like not funded for like $2,700, because I don't know what it takes to fund a comic, like $20,000-$30,000. Say a color comic needs like $30,000, 48 page color, whatever, 30 grand, and to to be profitable, to pay, there's the artist, the colorist, the formatter guy, who's the guy who does the word balloons, that guy, there's like at least three people at least involved in the comic. So there's money to pay that and then ship it out and get it to people. And it's like, it's got to reach a certain number. And you have these like $2,700 comics and they're like, oh, it's what do you call those, like those Cartoon Network drawings? It's like the really simple drawings, it's almost like South Park level of drawings. It's like, but it's BLT and marginalized and oppressed, and the writer is all these kind of, they have all these like prefix modifying words. The writer is all this kind of stuff. It's like, not to be a dick, but you got to. That's not what's selling. That's not what sells the comic. And like, it's better just to tell these kids like, okay, here, listen, we want you to sell your comic by all means, but you got to give people what is worth the $25, the $30, the shipping. It's like, everything's got to be worth it. You've got to be minimally competent, and putting down all your marginal, like, I'm pox, walks, marginalized, and press. Yeah, great. But is a comic, does it grab people? Is it a good story? Like, that's the thing about Iron Sights, was it was a comic that just grabbed people so well. And it was like, you looked at it, it's like, oh, you had to have this comic. It's a great story. It's great art. It all flows together. It just grabbed the reader and you had to have it. And it was like $20 for, I think it was like 100 pages or something. It was such a good deal and such a good story. It's like, yeah, you really want to do that kind of stuff. A good story and good art with something that captures the audience. Yeah, do more of that and less of like, I'm trying to say the algorithm, if the algorithm was honest, like it would, it does I'm rambling now, but it does the POC, this community who like they view themselves as marginalized and oppressed. It does you no favors to say, oh, come sell your comic and get it out there, and you write it and you draw it and you put it together and you get it funded for like, say the funding, like I said, is like $30,000, $20,000, and you get $12,000 and think, oh, we'll make it up in sales. It's like, okay, now you have to produce this comic. It's not very good. Not a lot of people are excited for it. It doesn't good to be artificially inflated and told that you should sell your comic when it's not ready. And it's like they do that to people who they put on this hierarchy. It's a soft bigotry or lowered expectations, instead of just being honest with them. Like, just be not be a dick. Like, being honest doesn't mean being a jerk to somebody. It's like, okay, this is your dream. You want to sell a comic. Let's facilitate that. It doesn't matter what the topic is. Let's get it out the door so you can reach a marketplace. It's got to be minimally competent, and you want to try to get a network together to bring your audience with you. So like, how do we work all this stuff together? And for the left wing, it's actually a little harder because they don't use YouTube. They're using Twitter, because YouTube, having to talk on videos and in live streams is actually much more difficult than talking on Twitter. Twitter is very easy, and you can have 100,000 Twitter followers, and then when it comes time to sell your comic, you discover, oh, there's nobody there. Like, it didn't get funded. As opposed to having like, 10,000 YouTube followers, and it comes time to sell your comic, and you're part of the comicsgate network, and you're like, oh, it got funded. It got $42,000. That's enough for the first comic. And then the second comic hopefully gets a little bit more, and you improve. It's like the Clint Stoker method and the Douglas Ernst method and Tim Lim. They start off and they just slowly gather their audience to them. And the first, Tim Lim's stuff is excellent right off the bat. He's a phenomenal artist, but he's the artist. He's not the writer, I don't think. But, Clint Stoker's Downcast was a good starting comic. And I'm not like damning him with faint praise. I have the comic. It's a good, and Soul Finder. Those are good beginning comics. And then everything after that gets a little bit better. And, part of it is like you support them because you like them as people, because they're awesome people. And I was gonna say, YouTube's been unsubbing. I gotta go make sure I'm subbed to those channels. I'm not seeing a bunch of the channels I used to be subbed to, because YouTube is literally unsubbing you. Like, that used to be a rumor, but now I discovered like they're actually doing it. So I gotta make sure I'm subbed to Clint Stoker's Downcast and Douglas Ernst and Tim Lim and all this kind of stuff. Because YouTube wants to control what you see. Like, when you sub to a channel, you sub to the channel. And like, I want to be subbed to that channel even if I go to that channel every 3 months. That's what I'm subbed to. And YouTube goes, no, we're going to unsub you from Tim Lim or one of these channels if like you're only going to it every 2 months. It's like, why do you want to control what I see? Like, well, because it's YouTube, it's Kickstarter, it's Indiegogo, it was Twitter before Elon Musk. They want to control everything. And we got to get around that. This is the alternative economy, the alternative marketplace of free speech and an honest algorithm. And just Odyssey is probably the next step And Twitter X is probably the next step too. And then there's Shing and Cozy and a couple other live streaming platforms where, you know, one day, like somebody's talking about in the future, they'll have an app, because there's like a half a dozen live streaming platforms that I know of. Obviously YouTube's the big dog, and Odyssey's catching up pretty quickly. But the next app in the future will be, you sub to this person on the app, and this person puts all their subscriptions in this app. And when you sub to this app on this person, it follows them around, whether they're on Shing, Cozy, Odyssey, DLive, YouTube, Foxhold, Pilled, whatever site. It's like it tells you where they are, and you just follow that person. That'll kind of be the next evolution, which, like, the mainstream wants to control you. All these Indiegogo, Kickstarter, YouTube, they want to control and curate exactly what information you're seeing, and we have to get beyond that. And something like Fund My Comic is going to be that's obviously the next logical step. Ripa, what's his name? Eric July with his comic, which was a huge hit. He was in the perfect place to do a crowdfunding, to do his own site, because he's got some investment money going on, to do his own site and sell comics. I don't know if he's doing that or not. And if it starts off that there's going to be a bunch to start with, that's fine. It's like whoever, it takes a while to get this stuff worked out, but we got to get around the gatekeepers, and any movement away from gatekeepers is going to be a good thing. Anyway, what a long rambling video. Like, comment, subscribe, check out Fund My Comic, and I'll see you guys all next episode.